So today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can generate your own cash with actually podcasting. And if, say, for example, you already have a pre-existing brand and you want to do set up a podcast, I'm going to show you how you can very easily, very quickly set up your own podcast. And it's only going to take a matter of, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes worth of work. But without any further ado, let's get into the actual video. So if you guys haven't been following me for a long time, you'll know that I've done a lot of podcasts. I've got my own podcast, and I also have been invited as a guest on podcasts. So as soon as you search up Kazra Dash podcasts, you will obviously see a load of different videos that have been on podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, etc., etc.
Did you know that 81% of businesses are overspending when it comes to actually trying to rank their website organically in Google? That's why I've decided to create the Traffic Accelerator system. It will tell you exactly what your website is lacking. The Traffic Accelerator system will tell you exactly how many backlinks you need, what articles you're missing on your website, and also how to internally link those articles together to gain topical authority. Now, if you're struggling to rank on Google, click the link down below, get the Traffic Accelerator system for your website. It's only $195 and it will tell you exactly everything your website is lacking.
So you'll know very quickly. I've done a lot, but you can also do this for your brand. Let's say for example, if we were to search let's say Wix podcast, right? You'll see that they do. Does Wix have their own podcast? I believe they do. Yeah, SERP's Up SEO podcast weekly insights. So they've got like a weekly podcast where like they teach you stuff. Now, what a lot of people used to think is that with a podcast, you need to actually set up your own microphone, you need to have a professional studio, you need to hire an editor, etc., etc. That's what I always used to think as well. Now, with the power of AI, you don't even need any of that. So, one thing that we can obviously take a look at is what's called Notebook LM. And if we actually search Notebook LM, it's the first result. It's actually by Google. And what we can actually do is if we click on Try Notebook LM, we can put in any article that we want into this. So if we just click on New Notebook, you can give it a link, you can give it a Google Drive. So what we can actually do here is if we actually click on, let's say, the 5 best hosting platforms, right? We will give it, we'll give it the Forbes link, why not? So if we just press copy here, and if we go back to Notebook LM, and if we just paste in our URL and click on insert. Now this will go do its thing. This is probably going to be the most time consuming section, but as you can see, it's went to the actual URL. It's given us a little bit of a summary, but as you can see, if you click on the audio overview, right, if you click on generate, this is going to take maybe 5 minutes, depending on the size of the article. It's going to generate you a fully done podcast. Now, you're probably thinking, how good is this podcast going to be? So I've actually done this with a article from HubSpot about keyword research. And if we take a look, or if we listen here.
Ever feel like you're like you built this amazing business, right? Website, content, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But it's like you're performing to an empty theater, no audience, no clicks, no nothing, just crickets.
It's the online version of that if a tree falls in the forest thing. You could have the best thing since sliced bread, but if your people can't find you, it's like you don't even exist.
Totally. And that's where I think this HubSpot article on keyword research comes in.
Yeah.
They call it the shortcut to going from like SEO 0 to hero, you know.
I like that.
And they break it down so even I can understand it.
And the biggest takeaway, understanding what your audience is actually typing in. It's less about you shouting your brand from the rooftops and more like listening in on what your ideal customers are already searching for.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not just about passion then. It's about meeting those passions head on, right? Like the article uses this hilarious example.
So that's like a 50-second snippet. I'll go maybe like 2 minutes in. and I'll play it for like maybe another 15 more
I've
seconds.
got one. She's like a travel guru. If she recommends a place, I'm booking a flight, no questions asked.
Exactly. You trust their judgment because they've kind of earned that reputation, right?
Absolutely.
Google looks for that same credibility online. Sites that are always putting out good content, relevant stuff.
So as you can see, it's more of a two-person conversation. It's not just an AI robot that's just talking to you non-stop. So from that point of view, it sounds amazing, personally, because it genuinely sounds like two people discussing about a certain article. So you can do that for your own blog articles. It also allows you to actually download the actual file, and then obviously you can then upload it through to any podcasting platform. So like what I mentioned before, you've obviously got Spotify, but there's a few other ones as well that you can actually distribute your podcast, and it will act as a distribution center. So it will essentially publish your podcast to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podcast Index. You've got Buzzsprout. This will do it. I believe this is paid. Well, actually, you've got a free version, 2 hours a month. I'm certain that you can probably bang out, let's say, 10, 15 different podcasts. You've got Podbean as well. Let's just check again. Basic, you get 5 hours on there, and again, it distributes all the podcasting platforms. So you're actually also building a lot of links. Now, what you can do is, if you're not looking to build out a brand using this, let's say, for example, you are using this as like kind of like an affiliate platform, you can, in the description of your actual podcast, actually have affiliate links. So you could do that. You can obviously link it back to your article. So let's say, for example, you have an article on the top 10 best hosting platforms. You can obviously actually link to those hosting platforms within the actual description of the podcast, or you can actually link it back to your article. So let's say we were the owner of Forbes.com, you could definitely link it back to this. So I'm just going to pause this video for like maybe 2 seconds until this actually generates, and then we're also going to listen to this Forbes article as well. So this has just finished. It took approximately 8 minutes. So this is a little bit of a longer podcast. This is 25 minutes as opposed to the one that we were listening to before, which was 9 minutes and 25. So I'm going to assume that this Forbes article might be a little bit longer. Yeah, it definitely looks a little bit longer because it's actually had to read through all the FAQs, so on and so forth. But let's take a listen to this. This is to do with the best hosting platforms. So let's take a listen.
Okay, so you're thinking about building a website.
Always an exciting first step.
It is exciting, but then you start looking into web hosting.
Right.
And you suddenly realize,
yeah,
it's a jungle out there.
It is a lot to take in.
It really is. Tons of options, tech terms flying around.
That's a jargon.
It can feel like you need a computer science degree just to even like get started.
I think that's a
This is first. What should we even be looking for in a web hosting provider? Like, what are the non-negotiables?
What are the must-haves?
Yes. What are the must-haves?
Yeah, I think that's such a key question to ask because it helps you narrow down the options.
Absolutely.
And the article lays out some essential web hosting features.
Okay.
And I would say these are things you absolutely cannot compromise on. So first and foremost, reliability and performance.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? Because if your website is constantly crashing or if it takes like ages to load.
So that is the actual podcast about the best hosting platforms. As you can tell, it is actually referencing things that has been said in the article. So obviously, if I was to just do a Control F and find reliability, yeah, it's mentioned here, and that's what they were actually talking about. So that's actually been how to generate your own podcast. Obviously, the next step after this would to actually start producing your podcasts on either Apple Podcast or either uploading it to Podbean, or actually going over to Spotify for podcasters and signing up here. It'll ask you a few questions, but then once you've actually set it up, you can actually very quickly, easily distribute it to all of the podcasting platforms. But I'm interested what you guys will actually be using this for. I personally think that there is definitely a use case for this. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be doing a video on it. Like what I mentioned at the start of this video, previously when I was asked about podcasts and stuff, do I think that AI could take over podcasting? I always would say no, but actually, after using Notebook LM, it's definitely a no-brainer. It's they've done a very, very good job of it. It's not robotic, I don't feel. It's not just one person talking. It's actually a conversation, and it also sounds like it's got emotion, which is quite scary. But yeah, let me know what you guys would actually potentially use this for. And as always, if you guys do want a growth strategy call for your website, make certain to check the link down below or head over to casual-com. Thanks.